From my understanding, this was the primary entrance to the hotel in the late 1800s, early 1900s, all the way up in the 50s. The check-in area would have been here. You have your mailboxes and room boxes in the back.
That's Rob Willoughby, Rockford's Brownfields redevelopment specialist. He's giving us a tour through the historic Chick House Hotel. Rockfordians may know that as that long, empty building across the street from the BMO Center.
This property was built in 1857, and it's one of three standing pre-Civil War structures here in downtown Rockford. Originally opened as a hotel, and it was called the Griggs House then, until Thomas Chick purchased it in 1888 and changed the name to the Chick Hotel. It operated as a hotel up until the late 1950s. After that, it was just used for commercial space downstairs, apartments upstairs. The top floors are pretty much left the exact way they were from the 1950s. This building is one of the few untouched buildings in Rockford that show both your Greek Revival and your Italianate architecture.
If you've followed our videos before, you know Rob takes us through city-owned properties that are on the cusp of redevelopment. He helps discuss their history and the challenges posed with bringing them back to life. Urban Equity Properties recently purchased a portion of this building, and it's working with the city to secure its part of the property and create a plan for turning it into loft apartments with ground floor businesses.
One of the biggest challenges is the fact that technically the city only owns a little over half the building. At some point in time over the years, this building was divided into two. Rockford Office Supply owns and operates the second half of the building, which is divided by a stairwell. The good news is for developers that this property is eligible for both state and federal historic tax credits. However, that creates some challenges. As you'll see upstairs, the rooms are very small and they require quite a bit of modification, which can be kind of problematic when you're trying to preserve the historic nature of the building.
During our look inside, we could see the remnants of the old Scribner's soda bar on the ground floor and an upstairs that remains largely untouched from its days as a dormitory-style hotel.
My understanding, when this stopped being a hotel in the early 50s, it's been untouched since. Like, nothing's been up here. So what you're seeing here is exactly how it was in the 1950s and before. Some of these rooms had their own restrooms. Some of them had to share a common one in the hallways. So here's your typical low-end cheap room right here. This here was probably like your honeymoon suite because it did have its own restroom shower. This was the big dollar room back in the 1800s.
City council members will soon discuss a plan to provide funding to help developers overhaul the property.
Structurally, the building is fairly sound. There is some settling in some places that you'll see that it's going to have to require some shoring and some stabilization. That's been known about for years. The city did do some brace work back in the early 2000s after acquiring the property in 1994. But one of the biggest challenges is just trying to balance that need for preserving the historic nature versus maximizing the amount of development space. It would be very, very good for Rockford. You look across the street and we have the Metro Center and quite a few other amenities down in this area, but just to have one more empty building filled with life would be great for the downtown. Additionally, it also puts the building back on the tax rolls and allows the city of Rockford and other taxing bodies to gain some sort of revenue off having it in place and active. Here you got your classic old creepy basement.